All right, welcome back to your Everyday Rich podcast.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome.
I'm Jen.
I'm Jason. This is your Everyday Rich podcast,
We're your
and
hosts.
we are your hosts. That's right. And if this is your first time here, thank you. Appreciate you stumbling into us and finding us and clicking us and listening. But if you're back again, thank you as well for coming back. So thank you for both ways.
You're
Anyways,
not tired of us yet.
yeah, not tired of us yet. But if it's your first time, your Everyday Rich podcast is really kind of a movement that we want to start and bring up conversations about investing, financial literacy, and reaching a point in your life where you can essentially live your everyday rich and trying to do all that while navigating all these like cultural norms of being raised in an Asian, uh, traditional Asian family
hmm
while being stuck in North America and figuring out all the things that are completely opposite of what we've been taught. So uh, that's kind of the synopsis. Go back to the first episode. We'll give it a rundown in terms of like who we are. But um, offline, Jen, before we get started, first I want to say thank you to our sponsors, our sponsor, Plantwell Inc., our good friends at Plantwell. They are a local, I guess, the family-owned operated business in Milton, Ontario, and they essentially provide hobbyists and enthusiasts of the growing community. So if you like to grow your own crops, vegetables, plants, things like that, they are the store to go to. They are the experts. They will know exactly how to help you grow your own grow your own crops. So whether you are a new person or experienced person, they're the people to go to.
Or people like us who just don't know how to grow things.
Yeah, if it was up to me and I was trying to plant something like tomatoes in the backyard, I would go to Plantwell. My friends at Plantwell will be like, "Help me grow this," because all I know is put it in soil, water it. Why is it not growing? Well, Plantwell's
Or
there for you.
why is it dying?
Why is it dying? But yeah. Anyways, um, so yeah, actually, something we were just talking about before we started the podcast was kind of wrapped up around what we're going to chat about today. But you know, Jen, like you celebrated your 15-year anniversary of your work anniversary.
That's right. I got my 15-year service award.
I know, which was
Crazy.
like,
Yay.
like,
And we're getting a gym.
well, let's leave that offline. But I mean, it's crazy to even think about work. Like Jen's been working for the same company for 15 years.
hmm
Not just like we've been working collectively, obviously, for like 15 years, 16 years ever since graduating. But even with the same company for 15 years, that's
Yeah. 15 years of the company. And that's not including the co-op work terms that I worked with them as well.
yeah, like that's kind of cool in a sense, like because you don't hear about that very often
No.
anymore. Like we're older millennials, and it's not a it's a very rare thing to even come across to hear anyone like you and probably one other person.
Yeah, I know like one other person that's worked at the same company since they graduated. Most of our friends and other people I know, have switched companies 2 or 3 times, different roles, etc. It's crazy.
I guess for myself, like we had a running joke every 3 years, every 3 to 4 years, there was this thing, and it was like I had to start looking for another job. Either I got bored, or I needed another challenge, or wasn't liking what I was doing, and it was like clockwork, right? Remember,
Yep.
3 years, like, hey Jen, I got to start looking for
Every
another
4
job.
years you go through this like mental thing like I think I need a new job.
Yeah, I think it's just not right here now, right? But anyways, like I've been with my company right now for 7 years, which is the longest stretch. So I've outlasted that 3 to 4 years. But um, yeah, like
Yeah, it's not popular now. Like if you think about my parents, both my parents um like they both worked in Hong Kong. They had a career in Hong Kong, immigrated to Canada. My mom, she worked at what used to be called Union Carbide, which turned to Lin, which now turned to Praxair. But so she used to work at Union Carbide in Hong Kong, and then she transferred to Lindy. I think it's called Lindy. Anyways, here in Canada. So she kind of kept with almost the same company, which is like an overseas transfer,
Hmm.
and then has worked at Praxair for I don't know how many years, but for a very long time. My dad came here, applied for CIBC, and worked at CIBC and retired from CIBC.
Yeah, for like 25 plus years. So
25
yeah,
plus
yeah.
years, right? It's crazy.
That's the cultural norm back in the days. So in the baby boomer ages, like our parents, so it was very common to basically have that mentality of, I would call it employer or job loyalty,
Mhm,
where you would stick with the same employer throughout your entire career.
mhm,
And that was very true, and evident even in my family. Like my dad my dad started with the same company and ended with the same company,
mhm,
right? And being in the restaurant industry,
mhm.
that's insane, right? And you don't hear a lot of that now unless you actually own, like, you're the restaurateur.
Yeah.
So that's the question. It was like, has job loyalty died with, I guess, millennials now?
I think so. I think and then it was different with our parents in a way because they're immigrants, right? So if you're up against people who are not immigrants, like,
Mhm.
both of our parents, like, obviously there was a bit of a language barrier, right? When they're living in Canada. So I think it's like they're not now millennials these days, they're much more, I guess, confident, right, to look for another job versus maybe as a person's immigrant who maybe they feel that they're like the underdog all the time. It's hard to like go and like challenge yourself to go and find a new job, right? Because you probably feel like you're always the underdog, right?
Yeah. I think I can only make observational comparisons, right? Because
Mhm.
it was. I think it might have been both like a fear thing
Yep.
of, you got something good and you don't want to lose it. So part of it is like the baby boomer scarcity mindset,
Yep.
where same thing. It's like you save your money, don't lose the capital you have,
Yep.
right? We're not worried about growing it. We're worried about saving it or
Yep.
not losing it.
Yep.
So,
Well, yeah, because they also came from nothing, right? Like
yeah, yeah. And
their background's a little different than how, I guess, millennials these days that live here, grew up here, right, have.
yeah, it kind of leads to the I guess the overarching topic of today's episode, which is essentially, as part of your career advancement, because we still work 9 to 5s.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people will still work 9 to 5s, right? And it is a big thing. So obviously, like, before you can exit your 9 to 5, maximize it to the point where you're almost I don't know, not abusing it, but like, just tap it all out.
Mhm.
But this job jumping versus job loyalty, like, how do we look at that? Right?
Mhm.
So, if in terms of advancing a career, right? And we're going to explore the topic of this, like, for career advancement. Should I stay? Should I go? So there's a lot to talk about here,
I
but
I don't think there's a wrong answer to it,
yeah.
just straight off the bat, right?
Agree.
Because it's different for everybody. However, I think the key part and back to, the name of this podcast, which is Your Everyday Rich, when you're working that job, whether it's your existing job or your new job, is that what you want? Does that provide you the lifestyle that you want,
Hmm.
right? Um, I think that's the key part of, or a key thing to look at when you're deciding whether to stay or to go.
Yeah. I guess in terms of like, why people jump around versus why they don't, I
Mhm.
think there's a lot of pros and cons,
Mhm.
and it's given a bad rap for staying with a company these days. And I see that in just hearing people talk about, like, oh, I'm being offered this, or I could just jump around. And I think part of that is not just the mindset of, obviously, millennials or Gen Zs or younger people these days. I think it's just the opportunities that exist now. with technology,
Yep.
it's so much more vast in terms of what you can do. Like in this world, you could you don't have to physically be in a location anymore, right? And obviously, COVID proved that.
Yeah,
So
working remotely.
yeah,
Mhm.
but that was a thing now where once you once you had a specific skill set and technology developed and different roles came about, that gave opportunity for a lot of people to just pick and choose now. Versus before, it was like, well, you really only have a few things that you can do to choose from. So I think in that sense, the type of work environment that's been breeded with
Mhm.
employers and just technology in general has given that opportunity for people to jump around. But I think
Well, why do you think people jump around?
well, a big part of it is people jump around because, well, mainly they want more money. I
Mhm.
think that's the biggest thing, right? So if your intentions are like, what are your intentions? Are you looking to make more money? Is it a career move? Like, is it a lateral or a vertical move, depending on the stage of your career? Are you looking for a new challenge? Or you get bored? Like
Mhm.
sometimes every 3, 4 years, maybe I get bored, right? Back in
Yep.
the day.
Yep.
Um, or sometimes people feel stuck, right? You might feel stuck or like in a rut, and you're just like, get that feeling, I don't like my job.
Or maybe
So,
you're just doing the same thing over and over
right,
again. Or not maybe you're not learning.
right. So it comes down to the challenge thing, right? You're not challenging yourself and your skill set to the best of your ability.
Mhm.
And a lot of people feel that, even though like they describe it as, I just don't like my job. But
But some people prefer that too, which is the other side of it.
it's the truth. I
It's
think
true.
so. It's true. Like a lot of people are okay with the mundane routine of their job. And I guess, like, let me set the record straight. Like, there's a difference between a career and a job,
Mhm.
right? So a lot of times we're preached that you get a job, you do your role, and then at 5 o'clock you clock out. That's totally fine, right? But in terms of, let's say, advancing your career, because like when it comes down to it, why are we working? We're working for money, right? And we're also working for fulfillment. So there's two parts of it. If you can make enough money, but you also are fulfilled at what you do, so whether you're adding value or you're helping the company grow business, or you're truly just passionate about what you do,
Mhm.
that balances out that equation. So I mean, when you go back to what you were saying, like, why do people jump around? Well, it could be multiple of those things.
Yeah.
But I think the definition of like job jumping and like the idea of that is so much more common now.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's defined by like less than 2 years at a job. Like,
Really?
yeah, I got
2 years?
I got the
Oh my
stat
gosh.
here.
By the time you train someone, it's like a year and they're like already thinking of going.
That's exactly it, right? It's
That's
expensive.
crazy.
So like, I do have stats here. Hold on, yeah, something like that. But
2 years.
I think that
That's
I think that was a stat, um, but yeah, like, I mean, you hear it very often, where it's like y- people will just jump around because they just want more money, right? So for whatever reason, if you feel like, oh, I could get another $20,000 more, I mean, statistics show that uh, you can get a bigger pay raise by jumping around.
yeah. Statistics show that's the best way to get a pay
Yep.
raise is to move jobs
Yeah.
because a company will only certain companies will only provide you so much of a raise, right? Like there's always a budget.
Exactly. Because like from a capex standpoint, like an operating budget of a company, like you can only distribute so many raises around.
Yep.
And because I mean, everyone would basically be like, well, how did that person get a 25% pay raise?
Mhm.
However, I do think that from a money standpoint, it can go both ways. So, because like my personal experience and your personal experience, we've shown two different paths. Right? So, Jen's been on the path of like same company, and I've been a path of, I wouldn't say jumping around, but I've moved companies in different industries almost.
Yeah.
And there was a point where, I actually took a pay reduction.
Yeah, you took a pay cut.
I took a pay cut because of the industry I wanted to get into. right?
Mhm.
And the opportunity that was there.
Mhm.
But I mean, I made that all back within 2 years, like, and some,
Mhm.
right? And that's part of it is through like negotiation and obviously showing up and putting in all the work to like
To get there.
warrant
But
that.
it shows that it's not just about the money, right? Like for you
Mhm,
personally, it's not just about the money because
mhm.
you could have got another job, maybe got paid more doing the same thing because you had been in the same industry, but then you probably feel like you probably wouldn't have been happy because there's a reason why you want to leave your first job in the first place,
Oh yeah, yep.
right?
Yeah, and that's the thing I think you have to ask yourself, right? So depending on your industry and your role, like first of all, what are your intentions? It's like, well, okay, why you want to jump around?
Mhm.
Because if I'm looking at it also from a hiring manager perspective, someone that's jumping around doesn't necessarily look good on paper.
I can tell you right now, I do a lot of hiring in my role. I've done a lot of hiring in the past 15 years. And that's one thing I don't like when I see a resume and the person's jumped every 2 years. Because if I'm going to invest and take the time to train someone, by the time like they get trained and they're good to go, like they're already like about to leave.
Yeah, it's expensive to train people.
Yeah.
And I think it depends on the role too, right? But if you're hiring for contract work, contractors jump around from where basically project to project. So that's understandable, especially in consulting, specific consulting. Like you're not tied to one company or one job, right? Because
Yeah.
your role is to consult for different firms.
Yeah.
But I think generalizing like a full time employee, yeah, you're right. Like I saw that as well when we were looking at resumes too with my management team. But like it gets interesting because if the concept of job jumping means, okay, well, I'm jumping because let's say for money.
Mhm.
And what happens if that doesn't work out,
The grass isn't always greener
right?
on that side. I've heard so many people say that where you go to, so the company I work with is a smaller company.
Hmm.
And I know for a fact, a lot of people at the company know for a fact we're a small company. We pay less than what a larger company might have a budget for.
Yeah.
And I've had I've had employees and colleagues who have worked at my company, switched over to another company and came back because the grass isn't always greener.
Yeah.
The grass is not always greener,
I saw.
even though the pay is better.
Yeah. And that goes back to your intentions, right? So, like, if you were moving strictly just because of money, at some point, the reasons of money run out. Like,
Mhm.
you'll basically remember, right? We talked about the two-part equation to like a career is money, but fulfillment. If all you have is the money piece, at some point you're just going to be draining all you like. Okay, you've met the money piece. Now you're just like, shit, I still hate my job.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
I'm
that's
working
part
even
of your
more than
everyday
I,
rich,
yeah.
right? Because your everyday rich is, oh, we spend 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day at our job, right? So that's a huge part of your life,
Mhm,
right? That's why your everyday rich is not just about the money,
mhm.
right? Is what does that money provide you? What kind of fulfillment does that provide you at the end of the day?
Well, like it's important to ask yourself, like when you are looking at a different uh let's say if you are considered job jumping or job hunting, like again back to the topic of this is like career advancement, right? Is it more beneficial to job jump or stay with the same company? And we're going to make arguments for both sides here, right? Because I have a bit of perspective of, I'm going to call it, role hopping
Mhm.
versus yours has been straight arrow with the same place, right?
Same place, but
And
there's role hopping and within the same company.
exactly, right. And I was with companies where there were lots of roles, and it was actually encouraged to grow in that company.
Mhm.
think most companies are like that. They're always encouraging hiring within,
Yep.
promotions within,
Yep.
right? And for me personally, at some point, it was like, well, I don't see myself at specific roles, whether it was management or whether it was like something else, right? You just don't see yourself in those positions, or you see the management uh, and what they do, and you're like, I'm
I don't want to do that.
not sure I want to do that. Right? So even though you like, okay, well, you find out how much they get paid, and you're like, mm,
Still don't want to do that.
still don't want to do that, right? So whether it's good, whether it's bad, it's like, right, for me personally, there was a fulfillment side of it that needs to make sense, because like if I'm going to spend all my time like you mentioned, I better damn like what I've been doing, because
Hmm.
at the end of the day, if you're going to be doing that for 20 years, and hopefully you're not, that's the whole point of actually, you're everyday rich, is to
Not even 20 years. If you're just going to do doing that every day for the
every day,
next like
5 years,
year, 5 years.
4 years, yeah.
It's a long time. 5 years is still a long time.
That's why I still
A
don't,
lot of
I
hours.
cannot, I cannot just comprehend like our parents doing that for 25 plus years, right? It was just, it seems like it was the same thing over and over again. But you know what? Yeah, in in like in terms of this observation, it's just what we see. We've actually never asked our parents like, what did you feel like when you worked there for 25 years?
Yeah,
I've never asked them that.
that's true. We should ask
I
them
think we
that.
should. But I want to ask you,
Hmm.
you've been working at the same firm um, for 15 years
Yeah.
now. What have you, what would you say out of those 15 years, based on this conversation, has that, have you found fulfillment
Hmm.
in the 15 years? Has it felt mundane? And also, why did you not want to move? I'm curious.
So within the 15 years, I've switched roles 4 times.
Yeah. Hmm.
I've had 4 times, 4 roles. I'm on my I'm on my fourth one. One, two. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on my fourth role right now. And people always ask me, "Wow, Jen, you stay there for 15 years. That's a really long time. How come have you ever not thought of, leaving?" Right?
Mhm.
Of course I have. I've thought about it many times.
Hey, if
Many, many
if
times.
Jen's employer, if the principals are listening, this is all just hypotheticals, okay? So,
I've thought about it many times because yeah, like 15 years is a long time.
mhm,
However, the principals have always I started working there when I was a co-op student.
mhm,
And when I was a co-op student in 2004, there were 7 people with the company.
yeah,
7 people, 1 office. So basically, within the 15 years that I've been with this company, I've seen this company grow from 7, 1 office to 9 offices across Canada, 1 in the US, and now 1 in Greece.
mhm,
So I've been with the company almost from the beginning. It's been really exciting to see the 2 owners, the 2 principals who are my good friends, right, to grow that company to where it is today. And for me, the reason why I've stayed with this company for 15 years because they provided me with different roles and different challenges to keep me engaged,
mhm.
right? And also compensating me for it.
Yeah, let's be straight, right? I mean, if the money wasn't there, then it doesn't make sense. But you make a great point, and I've seen the culture. And like,
Yeah.
I've been to work parties. I've interacted with Jen's principals, and like they're really cool. They're chill, and that's the piece that I think a lot of people that are going through their career and thinking about like,
Yeah.
what's my next step, is looking at like, okay, well, how can I leverage my current opportunities right now? Because a lot of times, like you said, we're always looking at the other side of the fence,
Yep.
trying to peek over to say like, well, it looks like they're having a better time, or they're, everything is better if I'm not here. but we don't ask ourselves enough, what am I doing here to really maximize my opportunities and my potential?
That's right, and the key point is to and hopefully, I don't know if you're able to do that at your company or not. So with my company, because we started out small, I was able to have really good conversations with the principals about what I wanted to do, right? They were able to provide me with roles. I've been put in roles that never even existed before.
Yeah, they
I
created roles for
created
it. Yeah.
roles, right? Because we're a small company, like, on a large company, you got to org, there's boxes you got to fill, and that's most time that's it, right? But with small companies, as you evolve, roles grow, your org grows, and I'm growing with the org. And at the end of the day, with this working with a small company, you're not just a number,
Hmm.
right? And in my personal experience working with the principals, I feel like because it was a small company and I've seen it grow and they put their trust in me, I've been able to provide a lot of value and make significant changes within the company. And
Hey,
that's what's, for the most part, kept me there, because you can actually make a difference.
yeah, and that's exactly it. So it's like you are making a difference. You are adding value in a sense that is fulfilling both your job, but almost like your kind of like a purpose, right?
Yeah.
Where like your career purpose. I'm not gonna say like your life purpose, but like it's like your vocational purpose, right? You're there and you're building something, right? I actually look at it as almost it's like um, you started at a startup, right? It was a
Yeah.
startup. You would
Yeah.
consider a startup, and now that startup is essentially a much bigger company
Yeah.
where, yeah, there's always still like kinks and crap that you always have to work out. But what company doesn't have that?
Yeah.
But because of that, you've been able to see all that.
Yeah.
And like there's definitely pros and cons to working and having those opportunities and riding that wave with the company and growing it. Like think about like companies like Facebook and Amazon and all these other ones. All these people that started 25 years ago or even like 15 years ago with Facebook, right? All these startup tech companies, right? For all the youths out there that prefer to talk about tech and not consulting.
Mhm.
Can you imagine you were like
From the beginning.
from the beginning? Like look what that potentially can do for you, right? Because the longevity there of fostering those relationships, developing those skills and going really deep really can have a huge advantage versus jumping around and then ultimately ending up with very little credibility because your track record is a piece of shit.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, like, when you work with, I guess you call it startup or a starting company, you're building,
Hmm.
right? You're building something from almost nothing.
Yep.
When I started out as a so I graduated as a chemical engineer from University of Waterloo. So coming out of school, I started out as an engineering training, a process engineering training.
Mm.
I eventually got promoted to run that process engineering department and build that department, right? So I built that and the processes with it. And then I moved on, moved to another. I started doing
Yeah.
corporate,
Yep.
right? So I kind of been able to move in different areas of the business to build different areas of the business, or to help build different areas of business, right? So that, to me, that was fulfillment for myself. Now, if I were worked at a bigger company, and again, I don't have a lot of experience with big companies, so I'm just kind of
Hmm.
speaking from what I hear from other people. I also obviously don't have that experience, but when you work for a bigger company, you're actually going into a company with built processes, built items. So you're just a person in that big department,
Cog in the wheel kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
making things move along.
Yeah.
Right? You're another person on the assembly line, passing it through, right? Passing the product through, passing their service through, whatever it is, right? So to me, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be one of the 400 people on that assembly line just kind of, you know,
Yeah.
passing something along that's already been done, I guess you could say, right? A billion times.
Yeah, I think that's fair too. Because, I've been, so my personal experience where actually every company that I've worked with has actually been quite big. I would say almost like, I would say large.
Mhm.
to the point where my second job was, it was a worldwide company. My third job is a worldwide company, so global companies. And there are a lot of different cogs in the wheel to make it function, right? But what's interesting is that if you are part of, if you are an integral part of that cog, of that wheel,
Mhm.
you actually can have a bigger impact than you think. So even though it's, yeah, we're just, in the grand scheme of things, we're all just numbers, right? The reality is that your bosses, they're the owners. And what your everyday rich in, like, in the grand scheme of things, is like, we are trying to encourage ownership, right? Whether it's owning your time, owning the assets, owning your freedom, it's about ownership, right? And to get out of that, like, we need to own stuff. But yeah, we are all technically kind of just numbers. The cog in the wheel, um, outlook is generally negative, which I get it. But I
Mhm.
also think that if you are an integral cog, right? If you are a very specific gear in that assembly,
Mhm.
you can actually make a big impact. And it's for you to recognize that,
Mhm.
and recognize that not just because maybe you're just good at your job,
Mhm.
but like, how are you going to apply that? How are you really going to leverage your skills in that place of entrepreneurship?
Yep.
Because jumping around at some point will only get you so far, in my opinion, right? Like, I didn't jump around per se, but at some point you're just going to be like, all right, you know what? I'm not sure I want to jump anymore, because either A, maybe you're tired of it, or B, there's, you found that, okay, well, you might figure out, well, my skill set is actually best utilized for doing this. And at some point, you're going to reach a plateau jumping around of, you've tapped yourself out with money, like from a earning capacity,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I'm not going to call it entry level, but at a hiring, like from a
Mhm.
hiring perspective,
Mhm.
like, not many people are going to hire like multiple high six-figure people if you're jumping around all the time. Like, what are you expecting? 25% raises
Yep.
every single time you go?
Yep.
At some point, you're going to cap out much faster than what the industry allows for.
Mhm.
But where I was going with this was that, like, if if you go deep and wide like you, and it doesn't have to be 15 years. Like, I'm like, let's kind of step back here. It's like, go deep and wide for the time you are with your firm, because that's the most important part, is that you're actually applying your skills and giving it all you got. It's like the whole mantra, like the Mamba mentality. You're not just going there to just kind of clock in and clock out. You're actually going there to show up and prove your worth. Like, that's the whole point.
Yeah, and I think the key part, regardless of whether you're working at one company or 6 different
Mhm.
companies, for me, I always wanna be challenged,
Yeah.
right? That's partly the reason why I also switched roles within my company, because it was either time for me to leave the company
Mhm.
or it's time for me to switch, because at some point, like you said, I'm just hitting a plateau because I'm just doing my job. I'm good at it. I'm good at this role. I've learned all I can learn at this role, I feel like, and I need to change.
Mhm. Yeah. Um,
And I'm like I said, I'm lucky my principals and the owners were very receptive to that, and they've always provided me with the opportunities to keep me challenged.
and that's important too. So, like, if you are right now, you're listening and you're working a 9 to 5, and you're thinking, shit, man, I do feel stuck, or I could use more money, or I've been looking for a new challenge, or maybe you're looking for some sort of move. Ask yourself, well, is the reason because the opportunities at work aren't being provided, or you're not asking for them?
Yeah,
That's a
it goes
two-part thing.
it goes both
Goes both
ways.
ways.
It goes both ways. There's some role, like the role I'm taking right now requires me to do a lot more networking, sales, business development. If you know me personally, I am a huge introvert.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because it's like the complete opposite of what you like think yourself
Well,
you want to do.
exactly. But that's the thing, right? I took on this role and I was offered this role, right? Knowing that that is not my strong suit. But it's not my entire role, but it is a portion of the role.
And at our point of our careers right now, where we've been working for quite a bit of years, right? We kind of realized that like that softer side of BD and sales and
Mhm.
schmoozing and developing relationships is actually really important
It is.
because if you're just a worker bee, right? And like, no offense to any of the worker bees, like if you love doing kind of like punch in, punch out, just do your job and fill in the Excel sheets kind of thing, hey, all the more power to you, right? You can
Mhm.
turn it off. But like, find that a lot of these soft skills are so important now where you use and leverage them for your
Yep.
day-to-day life.
Yep.
Like you being able to like create and foster relationships in your business
Mhm.
goes also in your personal,
Mhm.
right? Like how am I going to how am I going to apply that to my own life?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's very applicable. You just think about it, right? Like what do they say, right? It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yep.
And all these little sayings about like, it's the hands you shake, not the grades you make.
Yeah. Well, last year, like I got into this new role last beginning of last year, right?
Mhm,
And it's funny because so at work, obviously, you have to be a little more open to networking and talking to people.
you mean you're not?
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
talking to people I don't know and, shooting the shit, that kind of stuff, right? Um, and then outside of work, I made it a goal to myself to also start networking from an investment standpoint,
Mhm.
right? Last year, I really pushed myself to get out there to do that. So I actually had to do it, not had to do it, but I pushed myself to do those things at my job as well as apply apply that outside of my job as well.
Yeah. And it's very encouraging to see that, right? Because I mean, the thing is, whether you're job jumping or you stay in the company, like we call it job loyalty, you want to challenge yourself because at the end of the day, if you're not challenged with what you're doing, what the hell are you doing it for? And
That's how you
uh,
grow. That's how you grow as a person, right?
right,
Like
and that's
just
how you end up living this, right?
yep,
Where am
you're
I
everyday
pointing?
rich.
I'm people that are on the audio. I'm pointing to the Your Everyday Rich logo, right? So it's like that's exactly how you live your everyday rich, right? It's through fulfillment.
Mhm,
And but uh back to the topic here because I want to answer some questions, right? So we're talking about like pros and cons because
mhm.
like I want to give people takeaways here if you're really thinking like what's the pro, what's the con, right? So like in terms of jumping around, and I'm reading off my iPad here because I write some of these notes down because can't remember every single detail. But like, what's the pros? What do you think, Jen? What are some pros of
Of
jumping around,
moving or I mean of staying?
jumping around?
Well, like you said, money.
Mhm.
And two, I would think it would be growing your network as another two. If you're in a different company, you're going to meet a whole bunch of new people. Number three, I'm assuming the new role giving you challenges,
Yep. Yeah,
keep you on your toes.
it's perfect. Exactly what I said here too. So the money, obviously, the potential for increasing your compensation that much faster, right? Because you are going around expecting and commanding and negotiating a higher salary. Because if you think your skills are there, then yeah, go for it, right?
Hmm.
Um, and being exposed to a different network is so valuable because if you're always in the same circles, it's sometimes hard for you to actually grow from that.
Hmm.
So, in putting yourself into a new circle, whether that's your career circle or your personal circle, can have huge benefits. So yeah, cons of jumping around obviously here now are, I think we talked about this earlier. Like I think you'll hit a plateau a lot much faster, um, because there's only so many times you can jump around before company's going to be like, yeah, hold on, that partner, you're asking for too much money now,
Hmm.
and you don't have a track record.
Yeah.
right? Like you said, like when it kind of stands up on the page, you're like, "Mm, why are you
Why is
only
this person
jumping
jumping
around
around so
everywhere?"
much? Yeah.
Right? Like you have not developed a track record to
Yeah.
demonstrate with any reliability that you actually are reliable.
Yeah.
like, like, I mean, if we're gonna hire you, how long are you gonna stay? Right? It's kind of almost like when I go to look at a tenant when we're screening tenants. Yeah, I don't want a tenant to stay for like 10 plus years. I also don't want a tenant to bounce on me like 4 months from now
Yep.
because it is expensive to refill the
Retrain.
well the vacancies,
All the vacancies, right?
right? From an investment, from a
Yep.
real estate investment standpoint. So similar parallels. And I also think, Colin, if you look at it this way, you're always the new kid on the block, right? Because you're always coming into a new place. You're the new person, right?
Hmm.
So you ain't got a lot of pull. So
Well, you got to prove your worth,
you have to prove it all
which
over
is
again.
not a bad thing. I mean, that is
Hmm.
a challenge in itself,
Hmm.
which is not a bad challenge, I guess you could say,
Sure. Yeah.
right?
Um, and then like pros and cons of staying. Obviously, staying, you got tenure, right?
Yep.
So call it seniority, whatever it is. So, I mean, if you work in an industry where there is a thing called seniority, if you're a unionized environment, that's still a thing, seniority, even though I think it's kind of archaic. But um, being there for a long time doesn't mean that you're actually of value to the company. So, and this is not talking directly to your example, but
Hmm.
I've seen a lot of people that have been in the same company for a long time and they should not be there, or they do not pull their weight, or they're basically just riding the wave of seniority.
Yep.
And it's a complete load of shit.
Yep.
They just shouldn't be there anymore. Um,
But it is a pro.
it is a pro. You obviously, because of the time you spent there, you get to know the systems really
Yep.
well, right? You get to know the processes really well,
Yep.
and maybe you actually had a chance to develop those processes.
Well, it makes your job potentially easier. So if you're looking for something that's not as challenging,
Hmm.
then it makes it easy, right? Because you've done it so many times.
Yeah, and because of the time you spent there, you hopefully have been able to foster some really good relationships, like deep relationships.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people are looking to not jump around all the time. I think most of the people wouldn't be looking to jump around. You're looking for some sort of quote unquote stability,
Yep.
right? In a world that's very, very unstable. Um,
Yeah, that'd be another pro, be like stable income, right?
yeah, I think so. And then that leads to trust, right? Because you develop those relationships, you actually have this trust that's built and
Yep.
developed.
Yep.
So, um, and lastly, also like another pro for staying is that you can get promotions from within. So,
Hmm.
right, there's all those opportunities. Cons, well,
Well, it depends on your company. You might not get any career it could go the opposite, right?
yep,
There'd be no promotions from within, and you do the same thing for, I don't know, 10, 15 years,
you
whatever, how long it is, right?
right. Depending on your roles, there might be tiers in those roles. So there might be different levels. So call it like, for instance, like back in the day when I was doing engineering, where there's engineering one, engineering two, engineering three, engineering four, like all the way up to engineering like seven.
Hmm.
And within those tiers, you're only allowed to
Do
uh,
certain things.
no, not do certain things. From a compensation standpoint, you could only
Yeah,
get
there's
to
a there's a salary band.
there's a band, right?
Yep.
Cap. So you were capped based on what role you're in, and you're just like, what? That's
Hmm.
bullshit, right?
Hmm.
Like there should never be a cap. It's based on how much you perform.
Yep.
So that was one of the reasons I left as well. But anyways, another con is like you might get bored, right? I
Yep.
mean, working in the same place, you actually might get bored, um, because it's very mundane and potentially routine. Like you're going to the same place, like
You're sick of your coworkers.
you might be sick. Yeah. Hey, if Jen's coworkers are listening, but no, she loves her coworkers. Um, yeah, it just could be routine, like, because it's literally you're showing up the same place over and over
Yeah.
again. So, you know, the even though as humans we like routine,
Hmm.
sometimes you feel like you need to break it up. So,
Yeah, you might not be learning something new.
yeah, I think
Or
that's the
maybe
biggest thing.
you're in the same, like for me, one of the things I've always all those times where I've thought about moving is because potentially I want to switch industries,
Hmm.
right? Because then you're always in the same industry versus learning a different industry. So when you're in the role or you're in the same company for a long period of time, obviously that company is servicing an industry for the most part, right? So you are kind of stuck in that specific industry, which is a con, I think, to me.
Yeah, fair enough. But I also want to like highlight the fact that, if you recognize the skill sets that you have,
Hmm.
they can be applied to different industries. It's just harder the longer you are in that one specific industry. Because if you are, I mean, think of it from an employer standpoint, right?
Well, yeah, it's harder to switch, right?
It's harder to switch.
If you've only been in the a specific industry for 2 years and then you switch industries, someone will hire you much faster
Mhm.
than switching industries if you've been in a certain industry for like, let's say 15, 20 years,
Well,
right?
and that's where the relationships of building relationships outside or BD and things like that can really benefit you, because then there are different touch points for you now to
Yep.
potentially like see different industries.
Yep. Well, and that's also where you could potentially take a pay cut,
Hmm.
right? I think a lot of people do that is, they work in one industry, they've made their way up because they've had lots of experience in one specific industry. They switch over and because they are almost starting as a beginner level in the industry, they can't get the same amount of pay,
Yeah.
right? Because their experience level is not the same in that specific industry, right? So then it's a pay cut comes.
And that's okay. I think it's frowned upon to be like, why would you take a pay cut? And I remember like when I was jumping my last job, I was taking a pay cut. I was telling you, remember? I was
Hmm.
just like, shit, this is a pretty, I mean, it's a significant pay cut, but it's like, you feel it in your bones, like I can make this work, right? And like you basically tell yourself, nah, it's okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
But you also, and that's the mentality, that if you come into that and understand that you put your mind to whatever you want, you can make it up tenfold, not just at your job, but through investing. Like, that's the thing, is that you got to get out of that scarcity mindset of like, oh, well, I can only make this much. Like, money is infinite.
Hmm.
The amount you make is infinite.
Hmm.
Yeah, there might be some caps if you are working a 9 to 5, but if you prove yourself and you get good at a little negotiating, you'd be surprised what you can actually negotiate and actually come out with.
Yep.
And then all those hard caps within specific levels, you'll make those disappear, because you can't refute the fact of results, right?
Hmm.
That's what it is, plain and simple. You showed me results, you show me the money,
Yep.
right? How do you think? I think how that's exactly what sports contracts work. They're all based on the performance.
Yep.
Like, I'm not going to sign a supermax with LeBron James if his stats were like someone like,
If they were crap.
I'm not going to name an NBA player, right? But you know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
someone that's just like third string on the bench all the way down, like 13th, 12th player. So that's just the reality. So if you apply that kind of logic, to your own career, whether you're jumping around or staying with the same company, you're gonna do all right. You can do all right. So
Just make sure it's what you want.
exactly,
That's the key part.
make sure it's what you wanted. Like, it
And
fulfills you,
fulfills you. That's right.
makes you good enough coin. There's potential for more coin, and remember, there's always more coin. But you wake up in the morning, you're like, yeah, I'm cool with this,
Yeah.
right?
No, I don't think. I think a lot of people though, like, there's a perception that you have to like love your job, and I know it's like, oh, you don't love your job. Like, no, I don't love my job. I can't say I love my job, but am I fulfilled with it? Yes. Are there days I don't want to go to work? 100%.
I
But
don't I
like,
don't know many entrepreneurs or even entrepreneurs that can say, I love my job. I love what I do. There's very little
yeah,
amount of people that say, like, they wake up and they're like, oh yeah, man, I love it. Like, you're Tony Robbins screaming on the top of your lungs, I love this shit, man. Like,
yeah,
whether you're an entrepreneur or you're an entrepreneur, there's always going to be battles, and you're always going to feel like, man, this
it's
doesn't
not what I
feel
want to do
not what I
today.
want to do today.
That's right.
So
But end the day, from a big picture point of view, does it fulfill you?
yeah. And I want to read a few things here, like before we kind of wrap up, right? I think if we were to summarize this, in my opinion, job jumping has its benefits. If you're earlier in your career, I think it's to your benefit to try to make as much money as you can early in your career,
And
because
jump, figure out what you like.
exactly, it's one of the best ways for you to be able to figure out what you don't want to do.
Exactly.
And that's what, when I was shifting around, I figured out very quickly what I didn't want to do. Even sometimes sometimes now I'm just like, do I want to do this? I don't know. I have no idea. Like, I wake up in the morning, I don't even know what I want to eat. Like, so, but that's the whole thing is, if you are going to jump around, then be strategic about it, right? Jump around strategically, whether it's for the money first and then figure out that fulfillment side after. Because I can tell you right now, after 15 years of working, you don't find that fulfillment part, you're always gonna be chasing something. It's not gonna feel right.
Hmm.
Um, and if you are, that type of person about, like, you're, let's call it, your Kobe, your Dirk Nowitzki, your uh, 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 friggin' Dame Lillard, right? You're all about loyalty.
Hmm.
These are NBA players, in case no one knows those names.
I was wondering where you're getting with that. Okay.
Like, if loyalty is your like the name of your game, then stick with it, right? Like, find ways where you can, like, grow within
Grow
that
within the
grow
company.
within that company, because there are some beautiful um, stories that come out of entrepreneurship that
Hmm.
I don't think enough people share, right?
Hmm.
Because entrepreneurship
Bad rep.
it gets shit on all the time.
Well, it gets shut on by entrepreneurs.
Entrepreneurs will always shit on entrepreneurs, but you know what the funny thing is? Entrepreneurs need entrepreneurs in order for their companies to work.
Straight.
So take it with a grain of salt, right? Um, and there's nothing wrong, like, if you're gonna go deep and wide. Sorry, if you're gonna go deep versus wide, like, and really commit, I think that leads to really big things down the road with anything,
Hmm.
right? So, the payday is going to come. You just got to work for it. The fulfillment will be there because you are going deep versus, like, trying to, like, do so many things.
Scratch the surface of everything.
Yeah, you scratch the surface of everything. Like, you're never going to uncover any gold. So,
Yep.
um, but yeah, that's what we think, you know. And from our own experiences, we can only speak from those and draw on those. But, if you are thinking of jumping around, or you've been with your company, like, hey, man, drop us a comment. I mean, let us know.
Let us
Like,
know.
have you been working with a company for a long time? What has come out of that? Do you feel like you've been able to really utilize the time that you've been there and feel fulfilled? Have you been able to, like, advance your, I would say, your compensation? Or are you in the early stage, or are you in the opposite side where
Yeah.
you've basically jumped around and you found success that way too,
Hmm.
right?
There's no wrong or right answer. I
No.
think it's really just dependent on the job that you have,
Yeah.
the career that you have, and what you want,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But always question it,
Yeah.
right? Don't just sit there and just let it pass by,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Man, always question. Always
Always
question.
question, always look and reflect at what you're doing and what you're spending your 9 to 5 on, because it's a freaking a lot of time of your day.
Yeah.
So you owe it to yourself to reflect, to determine whether it's what you want, determine whether it's right for you.
Yeah. Fair enough. And, if at the end of the day, when you guys have listened to this episode, I we only really ask one thing, because we don't get money for this, and the only thing I ask for our fee in return, so that we could keep sharing our message of living your everyday rich and finding ways of financial freedom and building that wealth through, like, your job, through
Hmm.
investing, because it's important. Leave us a comment, like, rate us, right? Because that's the only way that this gets shared with more people. that can relate to it. And if you liked it, great. If you didn't, well, okay, sure.
Turn
But
it off.
turn it off. But if you did, like, help us help us grow it, right? Help us so that other people can hear the same message too. So maybe they can learn something about it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think we should go look at your 15-year
Service award.
service award and go pick it out because what's yours is mine, right?
Well, we can share, maybe.
So I like that answer. Okay. Well,
All right.
all right. Anyways, appreciate it, guys. Thanks very much.
Thanks for tuning in.
All right. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Peace.
Your Everyday Rich podcast is presented solely for general informational, educational, and entertainment purposes. Any such information or other material should not be construed as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a qualified professional.